Listen up or run for cover. Dropping knowledge from the people who have it to the people who need it. The real Brad Lee Bombs is dropping.
What it is. Brad Lee back again with another episode of Droppin' Bizzles up in the hizzle with my main man, Mr. J Duran.
How are you?
See, I'm a poet and don't even know it, but my feet show it because they're Longfellows.
Bradrick Nietzsche.
That's right. So if you guys don't know who Jay Doran is, he's the fella running around the earth teaching people and elevating their mind around how important culture is. In fact, he's from Culture Matters. Welcome, Jay.
Oh, thank you for having me. My favorite place.
Sure. How's things? How's things cooking?
Right now, if I was any better, I'd have a twin.
Hey, I noticed you have a lobster tie on. Anything significant about lobsters?
Yeah, so this lobster tie signifies a gentleman that I respect on a very high level, which I know you do as well, Jordan B. Peterson.
Yes, Jordan B. Peterson. I wish someone in the bomb squad actually knew Jordan, because Jordan is looking for a different way to deliver education and knowledge to the masses, right? To improve.
Yeah, this is a professor that, 40,000 hours in front of clients, clinical psychologists out of Canada, Toronto, University of Toronto, that unfortunately wasn't able to go back to his position due to political, bureaucratic, whatever reasons.
Hogwash.
However, awesome teacher, 1.5 million YouTube subscribers that people actually watch his Harvard level lectures, academic lectures. They're watching the whole thing, and he was in 85 cities. In a few short months, 2,000 people sold out.
Yeah.
People are watching this stuff, and they want to learn. He's superior academic. So I said, hey, I got to represent another Lightspeed type.
Listen, I would allow
academic.
him to utilize Lightspeed at an incredible discount in order to help bring the knowledge from the people who have it to the people who need it. And he's definitely one who has it.
Without a doubt.
I've read his book. I listen to his thoughts in the videos on YouTube and what have you.
What makes you passionate about bringing the knowledge to the people who have it to the people who need it, and to do something that nice?
Well, because I want to live in a more successful world. It's a little bit selfish. I want to elevate the world's ability to succeed, and I believe with the right knowledge, success is guaranteed. So therefore, I have a platform that can allow us to deliver, track, measure, monitor, interact, engage, adapt any kind of knowledge to any person rather than through a linear format or through a brick and mortar. So it's exactly what Jordan's looking for. He just doesn't know that it exists. So if anybody in the bomb squad knows Jordan Peterson, or how about the entire bomb squad, just start tagging Jordan Peterson in this podcast, and I'm pretty sure he'll hear it. He can reach out to me at lightspeedvt.com.
I think people
I am the Jordan Peterson of virtual training.
I love it.
So again, once he realizes that we've got the technology that he would be able to utilize to not only expand his audience and his message, but probably elevate the world's intelligence as well, which I think is what he's passionate about.
Well, think about it. If 1.5 million people are watching collegiate level lectures that are hours and hours long, the whole thing, that means that the content pedagogically, meaning it's entertaining, it aligns with how our brains learn, because this is a professor that's engaging, had the system that could add, the technology would add to that culture, meaning his internal culture of character is who he is, a great teacher. Those millions of people could be tracked and monitored, everything that they learn on a higher level. And then that would align with your understanding that you need repetition, role play, accountability, and good content for someone to actually learn. So there's so much synergy, just like there's so much synergy with us and Culture Matters and what we do, inspiring people to read, write, and speak. I think there's something really important that everyone listening to this needs to wake up and think about. In 105 AD, Cylon invented the paper. And that gave power to the Eastern Hemisphere. There was a huge correlation to it. People were able to start reading and having conversations and stop acting like chimpanzees. Hundreds of years later, in the 1400s, Gutenberg invented the printing press. And when I say that, it was more so as he put 6 pieces together so that the process was refined and we could have books. Those books made it either, the printing press print it quicker, and then we had more books faster in people's homes. And actually, people started having libraries. And through that, their habituation was what? Reading between the lines. When you read a book, you actually think. When you think, you have truth that you want to share, meaning your opinion, because that's what truth is, both parties' opinion, that when they have a conversation, both parties are enlightened when they're not fighting, but they're listening to each other and they're growing. So that brought all the power from the East to the West, correlatively speaking. And then today, in 2018, 7 billion people on the planet have phones. Most have access to the internet. And now the spoken word is more powerful than the written word. So billions of people all around the world can have a thought and share it.
Just so you know, I believe since the origin, from the source, the word has always been more powerful than the written.
Why?
Well, because that's how it all was created, first of all. Second of all, because the word is simply the attempt to express the thought.
And now the word we've talked in other conversations that word expresses a thought. You've said things on sound, that the words articulate our sounds. And I had an epiphany the other day.
Those are the letters. The words are simply made up of letters, depending on what alphabet you're using.
Yeah.
That attempt to get you to make phonetically the sound of the words, which are, again, made up of text.
Yes.
But the words are simply an attempt to get someone to understand our thought.
Yes, and the density of the word, meaning the complexity of the word, reflects the beginning of that, or the catalyst to that, which is the complexity of the sound, because it starts with the word, the complexity of the sound, and meaning the more difficult or larger the word, complex the word, the more complex the sound, meaning the more complex the thought, and the more truth, which truth stacks on itself, because that's what we do as organisms. We navigate the world, we observe, we overcome or don't overcome. We overcome, let's say, and we grow from that. I mean, we grow our understanding, we grow our language, we use our language, and through that complexity, we develop more truth, and our societies evolve. So I would say it's extremely important for us to be choosy with our words and use the words that will most benefit the outcome that we're looking for. That's why it's so important to read, write, and speak, and that's why it's so amazing what Lightspeed does with the platform that can facilitate getting the knowledge people who have it to the people who need it, because every human on the planet has the ability to create knowledge, as one of the Latin terminologies of education is ijukate, the answer lies within. That's from back to the Socratics. The answer lies within, and through a process of coaching, asking questions, the observed, the observed, meaning not the coach, but the client, the mentor, the mentee, not the mentor, can be worked after a series of questions, develop and actually come up with answers on their own. Mm-hmm. So every human on the planet has the ability to create meaning in their life through their words and their thoughts. And that's why it's so important.
What's more important, sound or words?
Well, that's...
Because I believe the universe began, whether you're theological or not, either if you believe in God, it started with a word, a sound. He spoke into existence.
I would say that they're the exact same thing in different forms.
But he spoke into existence. And if you don't believe in God, let's say you're more scientific, and you believe in the Big Bang, well, the bang must have made a sound, didn't it? So either way, the universe was created.
Words are symbolic representations of energy. Word is energy, and sound is energy, and thought is energy. Words are just symbolic representations of it. So words bring the sound from the energy to the matter, meaning the symbol, which is the word, is the transition point from invisible to visible, meaning it didn't exist to it exists in a material plane. So example, we think something, and now it's going to come through the word, the sound, but the words with the phonetically, right? The language is how we communicate with the other human, because the power is really in the numbers, not the individual. We're not spiders. We don't eat our babies. We're a social creature, and there's that social contract. We need each other. So to do that, we need to communicate on that level. And one could infer, like anthropologically speaking, as we develop frontal lobes, like that opened up our ability for our brains to reflect a potential of thought on that level, and that reasoning rationale that no other organism on the planet can do. So I would say that they're the same thing in different forms, and that the words help facilitate the same thing, which was the sound, to being more relevant for material existence. And we create things through our language. That's why the point is it's extremely important to be choosy with your words. And right now in history, everyone listening to this, everyone in the bomb squad can take out their phone and actually speak their word. They can educate people with, they have something to say. They have thoughts in their mind. They have things they want to share. And through empathetic, educational entertainment, meaning share their story, make their point, and teach something, they can change their life and others using their iPhone and use technology to actually catalyze abundance in the world. And this is a bigger revolution than the Gutenberg press, which elevated the consciousness of the society, and the Saloon paper, which elevated the consciousness of society. This is the age of the individual. This is the age of the individual. So everyone in the bomb squad has the opportunity to create meaning in their life and build an income, educating other people through the Lightspeed platform. Well, and I'm a huge fan of Jordan B. Peterson, because this is a man who didn't ask to be anyone's guru, but was pushed into teaching like he had done for 30 years from his 20s, because his first book was started in his mid-20s, Maps of Meaning. It took 15 years to write that book. So much effort was put, and I've read it. It's a mind-blowingly dense book. It'll rip you apart reading that book. It's on a whole nother level than 12 Rules for Life. I'm excited just thinking about it. This is a guy who didn't ask to be everyone's mentor, but is. And 2,000 people, 2,000 people sold out everywhere. And, we're in the personal development industry, and we're like, people are trying to get people to come to events, like putting out big money to get people to come to events. This is a guy that's just telling the truth like you do, value, and everyone can access him on the internet. What's crazy about Lightspeed is it lets you track it and monitor it and repeat it, and helps me as an educator, because that's what I am first, someone that reads, writes, and speaks every day, to develop themselves and then give that to others. It lets me do that in an organized fashion so that the people on the Lightspeed platform for Culture Matters can have the repetition, accountability, the role play, and obviously the good content. So I'm excited about Lightspeed VT's future. I think that it was 50 years ahead of its time, and that being 20 years in, Brad, you are one of the most intelligent people I've ever met.
Boy, period. You haven't met very many people, have you?
It's a sad
See, there's
life,
that thing.
Yeah, there's that thing. There's that wit. Well, different podcast. What it is. Another time. Braderick Nietzsche. So
let me ask you this then. If you could tell everyone on earth one thing in an attempt to better the earth.
Yeah.
And you can only tell them one thing. Like, you have a speaker. This is it. You're on it. There's every person on earth will hear what you're about to say as if you were a deity.
Yeah.
And they were just forced to hear it. So what would you say to everybody?
Be selfishly selfless and read, write, and speak daily with an attitude of openness, curiosity, observation. Execute on that to tell your truth.
And if everyone took action and did that, what would happen? Would there be war, or would there be soothing calmness like the power of my voice?
Beautiful, yes.
At midnight.
It would be analogous to this audible conversation.
Yeah, because
right
you
now.
would think sometimes, dude, you get people to start sharing their thoughts and their truths and their beliefs. It might cause a lot of conflict.
That's a great point. So reading is
Because
not
your
meant-
truth
yeah,
may
but-
not be mine.
Exactly. And that's my point is your truth, when I'm open and curious in that equation, I won't take it personal that your truth might upset me in the present moment. I, as a human, not a chimpanzee, can control my emotive personal insecurity by my pride, the shield of insecurity. I can control it and say,
Yeah, but you
All right, I
can.
wanna hear-
You can.
yes.
There's a lot of
Oh.
chimpanzees all over the
Okay,
planet.
great point.
So if everybody started doing what you just said, I would fear that there would be massive war and deterioration of the construct we know as society. Why? Because people like to argue, people like to hate, followers like to pick sides. So the ones with extreme deep level of thought, someone will align with them,
Yes.
and next thing you know, you have created your own religion, so to speak. And then what happens when religions begin to frickin' clash against other religions with those other people and belief systems? Pretty soon, fuck you, I don't believe what you believe. And next thing you know, we're all massively thrust into a ball of frickin' conflict.
It almost sounds like you just described our current last 100 years. If we look at the last 100 years, we were in multiple wars. Like, let's just look at the time frame.
Yeah, but wars aren't usually generally caused by someone's, belief system. I think that's the excuse. Generally, wars are created, and the whole reason for them is usually financial.
Well,
Some sort of
how can we
financial.
detach ourselves from anything in equation? Meaning, no matter what the extrinsic causality of a scenario is, there is always an intrinsic catalyst. Meaning, because that would be a contradiction to what we said earlier, is that the word or the sound and the word and the thought, they're the same thing. The thought comes before the action is the point. So nothing financial could ever happen, or nothing external can ever happen in any reality ever in this material dimension without the belief first, meaning without the thought first. Mm-hmm. You're not going to pick something out without thinking of it. And even if you do it on autopilot, that is just the accumulated memory of the unconscious habituation of previous thoughts. So thought was the beginning of it all. So my point with that is, in the last 100 years, there's been many, many, many wars. And everything that you just said you'd be worried that would happen is already happening today. Why? Because people speak without developing themselves. They speak out of someone else's opinion. There's a Carl Jung quote, who's a famous psychologist. People don't have ideas. Ideas have people. So my point would be, reading to memorize is not what you do. As Epictetus said, the book is your workout of the mind. It's not meant to own you. You're not going to read my book, 30 Days of Thought, which comes out in December, which is about reading, writing, and speaking every day. You're not going to read my book to memorize what Jay says. I am not right. I am throwing energy, because that's what it is, energy on there. So you can digest it when you read and then think, have conversations in your head, and grapple with what I wrote so you can think and form your own opinions, your own truth. And then when you write it, what writing does is take more energy from us biologically to psychologically develop our thoughts better. So then the other person that reads it, they go through the same pattern, and now everyone's growing and getting stronger. And then when they speak, when they're open and curious, they don't take it personally when they disagree with somebody. Just like when we talk, we're always disagreeing on things. I become a better man every time I talk to you.
Hey now.
Because I listen to you. And even if, just like right now, like you said your point, and I said my point, and some people will say, this guy that's talking, it's crazy. Brad, I like what he said. He's right.
Well, we didn't conflict.
And basically, if you look at it objectively, we did just disagree.
On what?
When I said, read, write, speak, and then I would tell people to be open and curious. And
no, I said if they did that.
Yeah. You said if you did that, this thing would happen.
There would be conflict. Do you disagree?
Yes.
What do you think would happen?
So I basically just.
What do you think would happen?
What I think would happen is that over time, that the evolution of the social consciousness less conflict would occur, because when you
Over time?
Over
How
time.
about immediately?
right away, no, that was my point, is that it's already going on, what you're saying, I believe. So nothing really would be different, because we're already living in that, except people don't read and write as much. They just speak, and they're not open, and they're not curious to learn about others. We have 192 countries. We have thousands and thousands of belief systems. And that's okay, because one thing must be more important. Human culture matters. We don't have an agreement above those agreements. We have nationalism that separates us at a level of abstraction. We already have all of these different belief systems. And the reason there is always perpetual conflict is because it's okay to have all those different belief systems, just like it's okay to have all these different races, all this different stuff, because that's the beauty, that's the uniquality of the human race. We're equal because we're unique. But we don't agree on a level of abstraction higher, which should just be, we're humans. So my argument would be, in the beginning, if they follow what I just said, nothing would change. It would still be like it is. But over time, people would stop taking things so personally, because pride is the shield of insecurity. And when you own your belief system, when you own your belief system, it owns you. Because the labeler becomes a slave to the label. And we tend to do that if we don't live in our rational, in a sense, rational, thought-provocative, humble way to not take things personally. And that is what I would believe would happen. Nothing would change up front, but people would start to think. And thinking throughout history has shown an increase of love and acceptance. And that's why I'm a big fan of the war against average, acknowledging people who have it to people who need it, because culture matters in essence. It's like what I do with executives is helping them bring out their knowledge so they can give it to other people, because they're usually in their own way.
Not to mention, define their knowledge.
Find it, transcribe it, and do it daily. The executive, because there's two variables in the cultural alignment conversation with what I do for a living. There's the idea, and there's the individual leading the idea. I mean, the individual leading the idea is the owner of the company, the founder of the company, the harbinger of light. And the idea is what it stands for. That's not about that individual, but what it stands for. So there's two variables. We got to create the idea so people can believe in something. And the individual that is running the company needs to get out of the way of the idea and develop themselves. The individual of the company is just a literal human being that metaphorically represents the conflicted, creative human in all of us, all 7 billion of us. So we all are on the same mission, obviously. That's why we align, because your platform gives any human on the planet on their phone basically the ability that as they're developing themselves, like their responsibility as a human, they can share that with others. Because I define it as being selfishly selfless. I'm selfish, insecure.
That's almost a
conflicted.
dichotomy.
It's whack-a-dizzle.
You should throw that word out of your vocabulary. Yeah, I'm taking away the right for you to say whack-a-dizzle.
Wait, is there a button that takes away bombs?
No.
Because on the last podcast, when you had the dropping bombs, like the thing,
Yeah.
you need to take one away from me.
Yeah.
Like -3 bombs after the whack-a-dizzle thing.
Yeah, whack-a-dizzle. You're in
It's
a
a
deficit.
weird thing to say.
You're in a deficit now. Especially in that, word soup you were just laying out there.
Word soup. I like that. Selfishly selfless is what I want people to adopt.
Yeah, but when people read, write, and
Speak.
they begin to evolve.
That's the meaning of life.
Right.
Is a creation of the individual internally outside.
Right.
And we are a social organism. We do not eat our babies like spiders. We what? Biologically are inclined to coach our children. Son, do not walk off that cliff. They listen to us until they're 7, and then they walk off the cliff because their brain is evolving to have their own independence. So we, as parents, as organisms, as creatures that are social, must be inclined to be open, curious, observant, tell the truth, and coach, ask questions, and bring out the truth and the education, right? That yujukate out of our children so they can evolve and develop and be loving, accepting, powerful, confident organisms. But that doesn't happen. That doesn't happen because that is complex and it's not common sense. So then those children grow up, effed up, conflicted, and they go into a system of memorization, not inculcation of thought provocation, meaning thinking, which is our industrial complex of education. And they say, well, why do we need to learn this? And they go, shut up and just study. And then the projected insecurity they get at home because they weren't raised by parents, they were raised by children because that's
fully
what they are.
evolved humans.
Yeah, exactly. So they project, they take what they heard at school and they bring it back to themselves, and then they're going inward, and now they're like, I'm lost and meaningless. Let me drink and fornicate, intoxicate and fornicate. Oh, and then, I'll go to college, get that job, because now socially it's really, because I don't have any meaning in my life, because I'm meaningless, because everyone's telling me that, and that's a social norm. I'm going to collect trinkets. I'm going to make a lot of money, and this is what's going to happen in capitalism. And then I'm going to go, and then they go, and then they don't actually read the books, write, or share and develop some power and become useful in a sense of being selfishly selfless, meaning they are conflicted because we are as humans. And through that, we care to help others because it feels good. Because when you help other people, serotonin releases the same neurotransmitter in alcohol. Oxytocin releases with the same neurotransmitter that's released when you come in a woman and also when you hug someone.
When you what? What did you say? Oxytocin happens when?
When you come in a woman.
Oh, my Lord. This isn't one of those shows. You can't say that.
All that, and that's what he got, guys. Bomb squad.
Shit.
This
Now
is
you
just
got-
science.
now you
This
got
is like the National
Now
Geographic.
you got wackadizzle and jizzle in the same
Your
paragraph.
finger went close
How does
to that. You were gonna hit
wackadizzle
it.
have like any place in that whole diatribe of vernacular mastery?
It was a mental cacophony.
Perhaps what it was is your ability to make sure that the mice that are listening still like you. Right?
Everyone Google.
There could be some mice listening, in which case you threw a wackadizzle in there in an attempt to make sure that frickin' the mice still connected.
I think you just psychoanalyzed me poignantly.
Thank you.
And it was you spot on. You got it. That was a misfiring of my unconscious insecurity to be liked by people.
Yep.
100%.
There you go.
Because I am an insecure person.
Aren't we all?
Yes.
I think we all are. However, when they read, write, speak, right? Read, write, and speak, they begin to listen to themselves, actually. And it evolves people. It evolves them because they start to learn who they are and what their ideals are and what their beliefs are, what they stand for. And before doing that, and it's all coming your way. See, when you start giving it out, like outflow is more powerful than inflow. So if you create into the world, you create into abundance, whether it's speaking or thinking or writing, you're creating, and you're also submitting it to the universe, right?
You're like a filter for the sound.
You're creating more abundance at the end of the day, you're creating abundance. When you write a book, it could be a good book or a bad book, but that's an opinion. You've created a book into the world. You've created thought and sound and words when you do what you're telling people to do.
If you actually wrote the book, by the way.
Yeah, but listen, when you create, you're adding to, and I think the universe rewards those that help create abundance, because then there's more for everybody. When you compete, I don't think anything more is created. I think one goes to another. So you don't get that kind of reward. Now you might be temporarily rewarded because you took from somebody else and someone else does without. But from a universally, from a universal law standpoint, when you create, you add. There's abundance. And then ironically, when you think, which is what would start you reading, writing, and speaking, is the thought. When you think, you start to actually exercise that muscle, which allows you to grow and develop and learn who you are as a person and in your belief system. And then you're also contributing to the abundance of life, and in which case you start to get a return unexpectedly in most cases. However,
your personal love goes up because you model the cosmogonic reflection of who you are, meaning the universe is ever expansive.
But would the polyunsaturated hydrocarbons flow through the medulla oblongata and increase the blood flow to the erector pili without affecting the amygdala and the frontal lobe cortex?
press the button that you deserve it. I want to hit it, dude.
I decide when the bombs drop.
The
But
universe, look at the universe.
But do you agree with that? When you write and create, it helps.
You are a filter. You are the segue between what is not yet, what can be, and what you manifest through your word, thought, ideation, belief, action, reaction, habituation, conviction, and alignment of other individuals. Period. We are connected to the greater abyss in the sense of, look at the universe, it ever expands. So if you're not ever expanding, you are contradicting the cosmogonic symbol of what you are.
Where does it expand to?
I don't know.
See, that's the thing. It's
No one
ever
does.
expanding into what?
That isn't, I don't believe, a relevant
Sure
at
it
all.
does, because where's the edge? If it's ever expanding, there has to be an end.
And this is the thing.
Hold up.
Okay.
Let's follow this path.
Yeah,
here.
I'm following you.
If it's ever expanding, there has to be an edge.
Yes.
Has to be defined. Okay, so if it's ever expanding, it's getting bigger. What's it getting bigger into? Because what's that if it's not the universe? Space? Mm-hmm. And if the space is ever expanding, well then there's no end. There's no limit. So when you say the universe is ever expanding, what's it expanding into? Space?
Well, number one.
And theoretically, couldn't it be true that universe that we're in is actually a microorganism in somebody else's existence?
That is a very philosophical inference due to your syllogistic predisposition to abstraction, Bradley.
But it's very interesting that if you were to think our universe,
yeah,
if you were to like have a blink of reality and to think our entire universe, not just the earth, the entire universe, which is so expansive to us and ever expanding, when you get up and get a flash of reality, that our entire universe is actually a microscopic speck or a cell in a whole entire other being or universe
I've had that
in and
thought.
of itself.
And
then that one is too. So imagine, like, that's expansive.
Okay, so now,
I don't know what the fuck we're talking about, but gosh, is it interesting.
That is important philosophically to think, because when you make things really, 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 really big, psychologically, how can you actually mediate your life out of, it's all about me? It's a humbling experience, and I would say philosophically, us not being able to see the stars like we used to affects our psychology and the economic evolution of the individual and the group. So
let's bring this
this back, right? Bring it back. The universe, like what you said before about the reading, the writing, coming from inside and creating without. Selfishly, we can be useful to others, which is a selfishly selfless, not to be selfless, but selfishly selfless, to be useful to confidently solve other people's problems, which fundamentally is what entrepreneurship is about, what being an employee is for an employer. You're solving problems. The process of doing that on a neurochemical level, like serotonin being released from teaching, cortisol being lowered from feeling good about being good at something, from oxytocin being released from doing the right thing, from endorphins released from, writing your goals down, dopamine is released. On a neurochemical level, the psychological individual actualizes through being useful. And when they do that, the group is better off because the mentor is the parent, which most don't have, to the mentee, the mentee, the coach to the
parent
coach.
Child, yeah.
Yeah, and everything just starts working out for one reason, it's a cosmogonic reflection of that ever-expanding universe that we don't need to know where it's going. But it's an expression in the sense of, if you stop growing, you're contradicting the universe, the cosmogonic expansion, which is the big lid above the smaller lid, which is the relation between the sun and the earth, which is our physics, and that relation that creates our biosphere and the biology, which leads to the brain, us, the filter of the universe, in a sense of, we create what we say and think and idealize and habituate and then share with others. So the point is, if you want to create meaning or find meaning in your life, you're not gonna. You're gonna create it by thinking, doing, and reflecting and not being so damn selfish only, but selfishly selfless. So that's why it's important to educate yourself. And as soon as you retire from educating yourself, meaning you stop thinking, stop growing, stop teaching, you are an inadequate organism. And you will be very sad and lonely and depressed. And you will create an ugly world because you'll spread your toxins over everyone else. And that's the current state of humanity. Even we're improving, and I'm not saying that. But damn it, it's not good enough.
Boy, that's a dismal outlook on that.
No, we are improving. I love we're in a good place.
Let's bring it down to the simplest, okay?
Sure, yeah.
I'm a businessman. I'm an entrepreneur. I'm trying to get by in life.
Yeah.
What should I do without cosmomorphic and anthropomorphic and all that shit? Just what should I do?
Be open.
Read.
I
Right?
would, when you read, don't be caught on the reading.
Yeah, but here's what I want to do.
Be open to
I want to
thinking.
I want to give you an access point to the listeners for sure,
of course,
and whoever they share this with.
Yeah.
To be simplified, because sometimes, dude, all big words, they go nowhere because they're too big and no one can consume them, which means you basically just wasted your breath. So let's speak with smaller words, and let's tell the average person listening, what should they do? And I know your answer is already read, write, and speak every day. Mm-hmm. What for? Why should they do that? Break each one down.
We want to read, not to memorize, but to think.
We want to read, so we challenge and exercise.
We want to challenge our current beliefs every day.
Yeah. So we
because
want to read.
Psychologically, we grow from that. Because if we okay, it's a bad word. If we're not open for our beliefs to be challenged, we tend to stagnate, and it hurts us as humans.
And harden.
Yes, and it's not good for our psychology. So that's first step. Writing is important because writing helps you actually overcome yourself, and it takes more calories to actually write your thoughts. So when you read and if you're open to the literature, and you don't need to agree with it. Like, read my book 30 Days of Thought and disagree with everything that I say, but write out your disagreements, you'll be a better person.
Yeah, now there's a right there. See, now we're getting somewhere.
And then share that. The reason I say speak is when
then
you
it causes
speak,
someone else to do the same thing.
And it's a giant fear for humans to share because anthropomorphically speaking.
See, there's that word. I knew it was coming.
And anthropologically speaking,
I literally knew it was coming.
If we were to speak and be and be frowned upon, our genes would not pass on because we're judged everywhere. So socially, it takes a lot of power to speak and not be afraid of it. I can speak because I'm telling the truth.
I'm glad we got this on video too.
A lobster.
He's a lobster.
So
folks.
We want to speak for a couple reasons. The mentor,
if you're lobster, who's the butter? And is it drawn? Where's the drawn butter?
I love it.
Well, I mean, if you're a lobster dude, there's got to be some drawn butter. Like, are lobsters any good if we don't eat them?
I haven't even eaten a lobster.
What are they for?
Lobsters are interesting, too.
But what are they for? To clean the bottom of our oceans?
Lobsters? I don't know.
They're there to clean the bottom of our oceans. They're literally garbage men of the ocean.
In a sense.
They keep our oceans clean. They're part of an ecosystem. Everything has its place.
Everything has its place. That's the inequality.
Folks.
Well, in every person, so the purpose of Culture Matters is to help people uncover their genius, right? The vision is to live in a world where every man, woman, and child takes responsibility to read, write, and speak every day. The mission is that we, the culturites and the culturians in Culture Matters, read, write, and speak every single day. Because we believe when people read, write, and speak every day, they develop the power to love themselves and others. So our goal is to make curiosity cool. That's why we align so much with Lightspeed and what it's doing, which is actually giving the medium, because the medium is the message. So the phone and your internet, the ability to put virtual training together, so the conversation you could have anywhere over the world with anyone.
So Culture Matters helps inspire the word, and Lightspeed helps deliver, track, and ensure its destination is reached.
It's amazing.
See?
So pragmatically for people, well, okay, this I hear all the time. People say to me, I listen to audiobooks, but I like reading better, like a physical book. The cone of learning, you can Google it. It's 200% or 100% more effective to actually listen than just read. I grew up in a family where my mom always had a book in her hand, so I was romantically like modeling, like I wanted to, and I love the physical book. But listening to audiobooks, a lot of people tell me I don't like it because I tune out. I don't remember anything. This is the point, and we're not taught this. And this could change everyone's life listening to this.
Yeah, but you're listening to those audiobooks with your eyebrows furled like they are right now, don't you? You're probably sitting there in your car, driving down the road, going like this.
When I listen to audiobooks, I'm not paying attention most of the time.
That's what he does?
They're laughing at me, right? Because your mind starts to wander. When your mind starts to wander, when you're listening to audiobooks, that's the point of the book, is to think. So let go of that and just dedicate time to be inculcated in learning. So when you're driving your car, since 2013, I was driving my car or working out, I'm always listening to audiobook. 4.5 hours every day for 5 years. Something tends to work because you're thinking. Now, this is the thing. You have to be open and curious to observe. If you're not open and curious, if you don't believe in something, you're not going to invest time to do it. Why? Because our neuropsychology doesn't perpetuate doing useless things because we all have a purpose, just like the lobster cleaning the bottom of the floor. And our purpose is not to be useless, it's to be useful. We can't be useful if we don't develop use in ourselves. So my one tip would be let go of that. And also, when you teach things, you remember it more because your brain is hardwired in the neurons that make up the neural nets to keep what is useful and important. And biologically, we're all inclined. Anyone listening to this is not dumb. They are geniuses in the sense that our brains can recognize patterns and use our imagination to create education through our offspring. We are meant to coach our children. We're all coaches. That's why all 7 billion people on the planet need a VT, because their kids should have the VT. Like my kids, you go on my YouTube channel, J Duran. There's 1,300 videos on there. I don't have millions of subscribers. Those videos are there because my kids will be like, it's crazy. But they can learn from me. And they'll have my VT.
You'll be like Friedrich Nietzsche. You could be like, dude, 100 years from now, 200 years from now, someone could be like Jay Doran, just like they do Friedrich Nietzsche.
Well, what was the name we were going to change it to? Dvorak.
That's you.
Dvorak, the
yeah,
warlock.
It's interesting stuff because, most people don't take the time to listen to 4 hours or read 4 hours a day.
Yeah.
Every day for
really?
5 years.
That's a rare thing?
I'm
just
it's
kidding.
Extremely rare.
It's equivalent to 63 semesters of college, according to a university study.
63
semesters. Yeah.
How many you need to get a master's degree?
I never finished high school, so I can tell you that.
Yeah, neither did I.
That's a paradox.
So we're a couple of uneducated,
ironic,
bumbling successes.
Philosophers. You're a philosopher. You're the philosopher king of the personal development industry.
My teachers used to tell me that I'll never amount to anything.
Really?
Well, I always wondered what their definition of anything was.
And that's why you're a philosopher, because you thought.
Well, the bottom line is everybody is something. And when they said you'll never amount to anything, it makes you wonder, what is anything? Wasn't I anything at the time?
Well, how old were you when they said that?
Oh, I don't know, probably about 12.
And you thought that thought?
Yeah, I thought, well, how is that possible? Aren't I something now? Like, is this not real?
You'll
never amount to anything. Well, what does that mean? I'm something currently, which means I've already amounted to something now.
You thought that at 12?
Well, I don't know, but in retrospect, perhaps I have.
Massively intelligent.
I think at the time I was just thinking, you got a booger in your nose.
I don't know.
Hey,
dude,
that's
you trying to acclimate to your
when I was in
audience.
school, I used to freaking get swatted. Like we were allowed to be swatted with paddles back in my school.
Really?
Oh yeah, dude. Your parents had to give permission, but dude, there was a teacher he had a paddle and he will swat your ass with this paddle for getting out of line, not doing the right thing. Some people would have to write sentences on the board. Some people would get your ass handed to you on a plate. And now we don't do that. What do you think the world is coming to? I believe firmly that our discipline as a society has been far deteriorated over the years due to,
Okay, this is a really important topic we should cover, yes.
And it's affecting our social construct.
That discipline created the opposite effect, which neither are good, meaning no discipline, that like where we're at now is not good. That wasn't working either because that limits creativity. That's too much order, so where it limits your creative thought, which your retort in your head to that professor was of a creative, abstract, philosophical, high-level abstract ideation that was limited due to that kind of system which we came from. But now we have the opposite, which sucks too. The real system we need is a system that
what do you think
perpetuates
of
punishment?
It works.
Punishment is a very, very
go to Singapore.
Go
to Singapore.
Punishment
dude.
works
Very low drugs over there. You know why? Because they'll freaking kill you. Zero tolerance. Get caught with any drugs whatsoever.
And
penalty
that
is
works
death.
in a chimp world.
Well, whatever. Then they got a chimp world over there. Another thing, if you do anything wrong, they will cane you in the public.
Yes.
Now, that is why Singapore has one of the safest and cleanest atmospheres. Now, a lot of people there like that because it's also consistent. And when things are consistent, you can trust them. It may not be whether they're good or bad. Like, in other words, people say, I hate salesmen. Why? I don't trust them. In fact, you actually do trust them, you see, and that's why you don't like them is because you trust that they'll fuck you every time. They'll lie to you. So you trust them. You don't not trust them.
I schematically understand them.
But which one is it?
One is a higher frequency, one is a lower frequency. That country is a lower frequency. The country, like America, that's founded on virtue, not fear, because that's fear. Fear is a dictatorship.
It's not
that's
fear.
close to a
It's not fear. If you don't,
that's close to a dictatorship.
Dude, I wouldn't be afraid to go to Singapore.
Not you.
Well, that's not fear then. They're telling you the consequences clearly, and with consistency, they execute those consequences. So if you're afraid, it's because
the action based on what?
Yeah, but if you're afraid, it's because
possibility.
Yeah, but if you're afraid of drug rules, well, then that's because you're a fucking druggie. Like, I am not afraid that I'm going to go to prison for life for drugs. Why? Because I don't do them, I'm not around them, and I wouldn't be around them. So therefore, drug laws, harsh drug laws, don't scare me.
Yes.
Do they scare you? Do harsh what if
no,
you,
because that
hold
comes
on.
back to your
What
culture.
if you got arrested for a DUI? It meant that you will go to prison for 100 years, and that was law here in the United States.
Yeah.
Would that scare you? Yes or no?
Because it's not in my culture.
Okay, therefore, it's not fear-based. It's not fear-based. The only people that it would be afraid of it are people that might be, victim by
Every
it.
human that isn't educated in the sense of they not think you're biased through your own personal level of abstraction, your education, and the fact that it's not already in your culture.
So you don't think there needs to be any rules?
Remember, we are a very young species, 150,000 years old, which is about 12 years old in relation to the average species, 1.3 million years. You could fact check me, Leonard Schlein, great book.
Leonard Schlein.
That
guy must be
We're
smart.
a 12-year-old species. So the point is,
I've never heard of Leonard Schlein.
he's awesome. He was like you were ahead with light speed. He was ahead in like anthropomorphically speaking, biologically speaking. Anyway, so futurist in that regard, and where we're going as a species, like how we're going to evolve cognitively. So my point
What do
is
you think of the?
Wait, one last second. Education is the solution because people don't want to do drugs when they love themselves because drugs just mirror the neurotransmitters that are already on our brain: oxytocin,
Well, I would agree with that.
dopamine.
But
So we're both agreeing. It's just that, listen, we're in a world that is not yet all the highest level of what a human can operate. We operate out of our emotions. We operate out of our instincts. We operate out of our amygdala. Example, we go into stores to buy clothing when we know we've never been there and we know we don't know where we're going. And people ask us that are working there, rationally, logically, it makes sense that they could help us and save us time and maybe money. They ask us, do you need help? And we say, no.
Yeah,
Why?
but when you say we, you must have a turd in your pocket because I don't say that.
Because you're a wonderful human.
No, if I walk into a store and I am looking for something and someone says, "Can I help you?" I say, "Yeah." Where do I find the?
I would argue that is due to the fact, or that is correlated to the fact that you have a massively successful company because you're dude that can let go to some extent of things.
So we should ask
most
for help.
People,
Yes or
yes.
no? Okay, so there we go. You say we're going to get these
most
bombs.
people don't.
See, he's dropping bombs left and right, but I can't drop them or it just sound like a constant bomb drop. But see, a lot of people can't extract the bomb because it's disguised in mononuclear anthropomorphic explanations. So I'm trying to extrapolate them out.
Wacka-dizzle?
Yeah. No.
Never. Again.
But I do believe that, you should be asking people for things. Too many people start businesses. They're too proud. Someone taught them some bullshit, by the way, that you need to do it yourself. If you want something done right, you got to do it yourself. That's bullshit. Don't ask for help. That's bullshit. Guys will drive around all day long lost when women, usually smarter than the species of men, will stop and ask for directions. Okay, why? Well, because they're smarter. And I'm just telling you that, you should ask for help, period, and not be ashamed of it. You agreed.
I have to because I'm biased. I have a great deal around respect for you because all of my clients are between 48 and in their late 50s because they are individuals who want to get to the next level of themselves and their business in creating
and in order to do that,
followings.
You read, write, and speak every day.
Among other things. In order to do that first, they have to be open and curious, thought-provoking men. And you are, is what I'm saying. And that's what created our relationship. So obviously I'm biased.
If there's any 48 to 100-year-old men listening and they want to evolve, what should they do? Should they follow you, call you, reach out to Antoine? What should they do? What should these people do?
They can reach out to us, J Duran, Jaydoran, personal Facebook. Reach out to me and I will have our team send you an application. We're very, very, very precise on the current
He will
culture.
not have his team ascend upon you.
No one will ascend like the horde. No, we will qualify in the sense of make sure that we're not wasting your time and vice versa, so that way we can align things and we do not waste people's time. And obviously, I am moving more back because Lightspeed VT is giving the world the ability to have Culture Matters coaching everywhere. So the corporations will have the ability to decrease their turnover, increase their productivity, help the employees actualize on the idea, and everyone actually enjoy and love what they do because of Culture Matters coaching being on Lightspeed VT, because that's what you do, Brad. You give the ability to people that have something to say that can benefit others to say it everywhere. And we have 7 billion people plus on the planet that need to create meaning in their lives, that need to be selfishly selfless, that need to be great parents. This is a human conversation. Parents, friends, spouses, business partners, coaching clients, mentor-mentee relationships. The world needs Lightspeed VT. The world needs to think and accept and be abundant and read, write, speak, and realize that they're not dumb, they're very curious, and we all have genius in us because we have the ability to recognize order in the disorder of this chaotic world and help each other. And that's my belief. That's what gets me in the morning. That's why we come out here as much as we can to work together, you and me. And I'm excited of our personal friendship and our business relationship and all the things that we're doing. And you're a philosopher.
Indeed. I would have to agree.
E equals VT squared.
Yeah, that's, the whole Einstein theory, E equals MC
What
squared.
drew you to Einstein? You got him everywhere.
Well,
his pictures.
I don't know. I might have been him. Who knows?
Yeah, I think so.
Who knows? I'm still trying to figure out if
That
reincarnation
question
is
that
real.
you asked yourself. Did you believe in Santa Claus growing up?
Probably. I don't remember prior to about 6, 7 years old. It's like I think my earliest memories are about 6.
Really?
I don't know that if I were born. You know what's crazy?
Maybe you just were dropped here and there.
You know what's crazy? Go ask my family, and I'm not adopted, so everyone's going to think, oh, he must be adopted.
Yeah. I was adopted.
I'm not adopted.
Anyone else?
Nobody has baby pictures of me. Now, they'll claim one, this little tiny like newborn.
What about Gerber?
Listen, little tiny newborn. Oh, that's you. But you can't tell with a brand new baby if it's anybody. So, no. Someone said it was me. Someone else said it wasn't. But where is me as a little tiny toddler, like your kid's age, or even my kid's age?
I had long
Like
blonde hair.
2, 3. Where's me? Where am I at 2 or 3
So you have no,
or 4?
Nothing. You got nothing.
No, and supposedly at 3 years old, I drank turpentine and actually died. Was rushed to the hospital. Perhaps
This is going to be in your new book.
it is in my new book. Well, it is in my book.
It is
yes,
in your new book.
but it's interesting because maybe if you believe in anything, perhaps that's when I was born. Maybe I just took possession. You know what I'm saying?
You took possession of that fetus. Or
I
you
wasn't
were
a fetus. Fetus. Speaking of fetus, dude, you said you're buying lunch.
That's what I committed to.
Now, see,
yeah.
some people are going to think, how did
Got
he
me.
get fetus with lunch? Feed us, you sicko. Feed us. Anyway, folks, go follow Jay Doran. Go reach out and get his organization to help you build culture in an organization that you want to grow. Because if you don't have culture, I mean, and again, correct me if I'm wrong, you're the expert, but I believe every company has a culture.
Well, how has it been going between us?
Every company has a culture.
Yeah.
It's either good or bad. That's all. Because
Every
every
human-
company has a culture.
Every human has a character, and when they open their mouth, there's either cultural alignment, meaning the person that is listening to them believes what they believe or doesn't. And it's about cultural alignment. So yes.
So when I say get yourself, go call them if you want to, work on your culture or get a culture, but we've all got one. The question is it a good one, and is it aligned with productivity and ethics and growth and prosperity? If it isn't, reach out to Jay Duran and Culture Matters, and they can help you get that going. Where do they follow you? Facebook or Instagram? Where are you on more?
Instagram more than ever. Facebook personal, very active.
Instagram,
Jay Duran,
folks.
the Culture Man on Instagram, yeah.
Jay the Man?
Jay Duran, the Culture Man
On which
Instagram.
one? Is that what it is?
Yeah.
Jay Duran,
Don't you-
Doran.
you follow?
Jay Duran, the Culture Man. I know, but I never saw the Culture Man. I thought it was just Jay Duran. It's Jay Duran, the Culture Man. All right. Anything you want to tell the Culturites and the Culturians that might be listening?
Don't forget to think and share something. Actually, everyone that's listened to this, write today, disagree or agree with what I've said with Brad, and send it to me. And I will have a conversation with you.
Send it to
Because
them.
I
Where do they send it?
appreciate you developing yourself. They're going to write what their thought on this. So, for example, in 30 Days of Thought, the book that's coming out, it's about every day, read an excerpt, which is a thought that's extrapolated. Read one and then write something of what you think after reading it, and then do a video on it. So if they can write what they think about this conversation, any thoughts that came to me,
And send it to you.
and send it to me.
Where?
Send it to us. Jay Duran. Jay Duran.
Well, you're pretty powerful if all they got to do is send it to Jay Duran.
Yes. Because I personally would love to read it.
And by the way, that's why I bought Brad Lee.
Yeah.
Because I said 10 years ago, I believe soon that's what they'll do. They'll send it to Jay Duran, and it'll be a .com, of course, but just Jay Duran will be your phone number, your FaceTime. It'll how I'm connected to you, whether it's email, text, like that is what you will do in the future, is you will just send it to Jay Duran. But since we're not there yet, where do they send it?
Send it to Jay Duran on personal Facebook, and send it to Jay Duran, the Culture Man, on Instagram, and I will respond.
Hit him in the DM, folks, and he'll
Yeah.
respond. And this will be interesting. Let's see how. And when you say agree with me, like we're not disagreeing.
Write down whatever it is that
What are your
just crossed your mind, and then
What did you like or
extrapolate
dislike
on it.
about the podcast
Yeah, just
conversation?
write it. Yeah,
Dude,
write something.
I would love to hear that. And here's what I'd also like to do. As soon as you agree or disagree, whether you like it or dislike it, we want to hear your comment. Jay does. I don't. I don't give a fuck. And share it with somebody, because if you feel strongly enough to make your comment, feel strongly enough to allow others to do the same. Maybe this will be the most popular, widely shared podcast episode in the history of dropping bombs. Now, if it is, this will spread throughout the kingdom
and
like
our
wildfire.
missions will be accomplished.
Well, the reason I want people to share is because right now I get about 7.2 or 7.25 billion downloads an episode. So there's about 60, 70 people
there's-
somewhere in like Namibia or somewhere. I can't find who's not
Madagascar.
listening. And I want them I want them to, because look, if you listen to it and you don't like it, then fuck off and everybody's happy. But I at least want you to hear it. And the only way for people to get to hear it is if I spend a shitload advertising, which I don't do, or my peeps share it, or your peeps.
We will share it.
Yeah. So listen, if you guys are culturites or culturians, you gotta share this with 70, 80, 90, 100,000 people. And we'll try to get the last 16 on earth that aren't listening to my podcast to listen to my podcast. Is that fair enough?
Sounds great.
Folks, thanks for coming in, Jay. Let's go eat some grub, shall we?
Yeah, let's do it.
That's right.